During a furious fire in Seoul, firefighter Kim Ja-hong holds a child in his arms while hanging by a rope weakened by fire. Another firefighter tries to help him, but the rope breaks before Ja-hong can grab his hand. After hitting the ground, Ja-hong's life flashes before his eyes. The girl in his arms gets up and runs to her parents. Ja-hong follows the girl and tries to talk to her, but no one pays attention to him. Suddenly, Ja-hong hears someone calling his name. When he looks around, he sees a man and a woman looking at him unconcerned by the flames around them. Lee Deok-soon and Hae-won-mak praise him for his heroic act and observe that he is a true paragon, which is rare in the afterlife. After notifying Ja-hong about the moment of his death, they introduce themselves as guardians who will defend him through the 7 judgments in the afterlife for 49 days. Ja-hong looks at his corpse, confused, while the other firefighters mourn his death. As he is pulled into the afterlife, Ja-hong pleads with the guardians to let him see his mother one last time, but they only smile at him. Upon entering the gate of the afterlife, the guardians introduce Ja-hong to their leader, Gangrim. After Deok-soon inserts Ja-hong's card into a device next to the gate, she happily confirms that he is a true paragon and notes that his chances of reincarnation are very high. As they pass through the gate, Hae-won-mak becomes confused when he finds himself in the volcano of the damned, meant for people who committed murder. The guardians inform Ja-hong that he will be judged for betrayal, violence, filial impiety, murder, idleness, deception, and injustice over the next 49 days. King Yeonra will designate the order of the judgment, starting with the lightest sin and moving to the heaviest. Ja-hong insists that he never harmed anyone, but the judgment will also assess indirect murders or actions that influenced the deaths of others. During the judgment, the god of murder discovers that he left a colleague trapped inside a burning building. One of the prosecutors argues that Ja-hong failed to save his colleague due to his indecision and fear. However, the guardians point out that Ja-hong's colleague asked him to save the injured first before helping him. That night, Ja-hong managed to save 8 people from the fire. He tried to return for his colleague, but the other firefighters held him back because the building was about to collapse. The god of murder absolves Ja-hong because the death of his colleague allowed him to save many other lives. On the way to the river of idleness, Ja-hong asks the guardians what they will gain from defending him. Hae-won-mak says they just want him to be reincarnated, but Ja-hong does not want to go through that. Deok-soon confesses that King Yeonra promised to reincarnate them if they help reincarnate 49 souls within a century. Ja-hong will be the 48th reincarnation if he passes the judgments. As they approach their destination, Gangrim warns Ja-hong not to challenge the goddess of idleness during the judgment. When they present their case to the goddess of idleness, she is impressed because Ja-hong spent most of his life saving others. However, the goddess is disappointed to hear when Ja-hong confesses that he did it for money. The goddess condemns him to suffer for eternity, being devoured by fish and crushed for serving the god of wealth. As the ferry floats to the edge of the river, Gangrim and Hae-won-mak swim behind Ja-hong and tell the goddess to look in the mirror of karma to see his true motivations. Gangrim observes that Ja-hong had several part-time jobs besides being a firefighter. Ja-hong had no days off, and the only time he rested was on the day of his death. He said all the money he earned to pay for his sick mother's treatment and his younger brother's law school tuition. The goddess declares Ja-hong innocent of idleness after realizing that he was not motivated by selfish interests. When they reach the Blade Forest, Gangrim severely reprimands Ja-hong for speaking to the goddess of idleness. Hae-won-mak advises him to follow her instructions, as he may be able to visit his mother in his dreams before reincarnation. Ja-hong becomes determined to reincarnate after learning about visiting in dreams. During a boat ride to the next judgment, the guardians notice drastic changes around them. Gangrim supposes that one of Ja-hong's family members must have died and transformed into a vengeful spirit. Soon, hellish ghouls begin to chase them, so Gangrim and Hae-won-mak draw their great blades to defend themselves. Gangrim falls from the boat when a ghoul attacks him, but he manages to hold on. Hae-won-mak destroys a column next to the mountain to prevent the ghouls from following them. After losing the ghouls, Hae-won-mak expresses his fear that they will not complete the judgments in 49 days because the vengeful spirit is accelerating time. Gangrim asks Deok-soon to guide him so that he can go to the world of the living to investigate. When Gangrim visits Ja-hong's mother, he goes back a few days in time and sees his brother, Soo-hong, promising to take care of their mother when he gets out of the army in 2 weeks. When he returns to the present, Gang Rim is surprised to realize that Suhong's mother can see him. The mute woman asks Gang Rim who he is using sign language. He explains that he wants to pay his respects to Jahong because her son saved his life. When the woman leaves the room, he orders Suhong's spirit to tell him where he died. However, Suhong runs away from him, so Gang Rim chases him through the city streets using his speed powers. Soon, ghouls catch up to the group in the forest, but King Yomra appears and destroys the evil creatures through his soldiers. The king asks why the ghouls have appeared in his kingdom, then the guardians reveal that Gang Rim went to the world of the living to investigate. Upon hearing that the vengeful spirit will be incinerated, Jahong threatens the king, believing the spirit to be his mother. While Haewonmek pulls Jahong away from Yomra, the king warns them that he will go to the world of the living personally if Gang Rim does not annihilate the vengeful spirit soon. Gang Rim visits the barracks and discovers that Suhong has been missing for 3 days. The officers believe he deserted just weeks before being discharged. Gang Rim goes back in time and witnesses Suhong protecting a soldier named Dongyun from bullies. When he sees Dongyun talking to First Lieutenant Park, Gang Rim pretends to be a colonel to interrogate the superior officer. Jahong soon faces the goddess of deception because he wrote several letters to the daughter of his deceased colleague and pretended to be her father. Jahong explains that it was the only thing he could do to comfort her. In the barracks, Gang Rim asks Park why Suhong's mother was not notified about her son's desertion. Park explains that the mother could go into shock if she found out her son was missing. Gang Rim accuses Park of burying Suhong's body and asks where he hid it. However, the conversation is interrupted when Haewonmek asks for his help to prevent the goddess of deception from cutting Jahong's tongue. Gang Rim establishes a connection with Deoksun to defend Jahong. He reveals that Jahong also wrote several deceptive letters to his mother. In those letters, Jahong claimed that he was now raising his own family so his mother wouldn't worry about him. Gang Rim observes that Jahong's mother overcame her illness and led a full life because those letters gave her hope. The prosecutors point out that the mother and son would be distressed if they found out Jahong lied, but the guardians argue that their sense of loss would be equally painful if they had not read the letters. The goddess of deception dismisses the accusations after discovering that there was a similar case in the past. As they prepare for the next judgment, Jahong observes that he is desperate to see his mother because he bought a rice cooker that was left at the fire station. Besides the rice cooker, he also wrote a letter to tell his mother the truth. Soon, Gang Rim contacts them to tell Jahong that his mother is alive. However, he lies that Suhong is alive and doing well in the army. Gang Rim goes back in time to witness how Suhong died. That night, Suhong comforts Dongyun, who is worried about what will happen to him when Suhong gets discharged. Dongyun nervously fiddles with the safety button of his gun while explaining that he is also worried about Suhong because of his brother's death. Suhong tells him not to waste tears over the past and embraces him. Suhong notices that Dongyun's gun is not in the correct position, so he tells him to hold it properly. When Dongyun adjusts his gun, he accidentally shoots Suhong. As he bleeds, Suhong instructs Dongyun to call Park and keep the others away. Haewonmek tells Jahong that the next judgment will be easy for him because it is for unjust people. The glacial mountains suddenly start to crumble behind them, so the group runs to a cable car and crosses to the other side. When Park arrives at the guard station, he tries to revive Suhong. After learning that Dongyun accidentally shot Suhong, Park takes the bullet casing and instructs Dongyun to help him clean and bury the body. Gang Rim notices that Suhong is still moving, but the two soldiers cannot see. He follows them and finds the place where the still-living soldier's body was buried. Upon entering the Hell of Injustice, Deoksun explains that people there are locked in ice for refusing to help those in need. Haewonmek explains that criminals who have exceeded the statute of limitations are not spared in hell. The longer they keep their crimes hidden, the harsher their punishment will be. As they continue on their way, Jahong recalls the moment when Suhong wanted to take a cable car ride. Deoksun says she envies Jahong because she has no memories of her life. She explains that only Gang Rim can remember his past. Deoksun enjoys listening to the soul she defends because tragic memories and even places in the afterlife can be beautiful. Haewonmek scolds her and reminds them that they are in hell. While he continues his complaints, he inadvertently reveals that Jahong's brother is the vengeful spirit that has been altering the afterlife. One of the cables holding their cable car suddenly breaks. Deoksun falls from the cable car, but Haewonmek catches her. Jahong ties himself to a rope and rescues Deoksun. As Gangrim investigates Suhong's grave, Haewonmek appears behind Gangrim and reprimands him for interfering with the living. Gangrim wants to give Suhong a proper burial, but Haewonmek wants to burn the body to eliminate the vengeful spirit. Haewonmek throws fireballs at him, but Gangrim deflects them. He tells Haewonmek to return to the afterlife and promises to take care of the vengeful spirit. In the barracks, Park gives Dongyun 3 days off so that he does not think about Suhong's death. Suhong watches the two, but he leaves when Gangrim arrives. After passing through the Hell of Injustice, the group reaches the Hell of Betrayal, where people who have betrayed their faith are locked in a mirror before being obliterated. Deoksun explains that the goddess of betrayal only forgives betrayals she considers beautiful, such as betrayals of conscience and altruistic betrayals. She observes that Jahong has a free pass through hell for being just. Dongyun ends up drinking at a club to forget the incident at the barracks. Suhong tries to knock a mirror ball over him, but he runs away when he sees Gangrim. The Guardian chases Suhong all over the city until he catches him in a tower. Gangrim asks Suhong to abandon his resentment and offers to defend him so that he can be reincarnated. He also says that Jahong is in danger because of him, but Suhong doesn't care, as Jahong left them and never returned. Gangrim understands Suhong's anger, but Suhong contends that no one can understand the pain of being buried alive. Gangrim shares Suhong's feelings, as he witnessed his father die the same way. Suhong eventually breaks free from Gangrim's ropes and runs away. Gangrim returns to the afterlife to tell the other guardians what he learned from Suhong. Haewonmek urges him to eliminate Suhong quickly because the ghouls may catch up to them. However, Jahong begs Gangrim to spare his brother. Dongyun stops at Suhong's house and leaves a map of the location of Suhong's body for his mother. Meanwhile, the trio arrives at the well that leads to the Hell of Violence. Haewonmek instructs Jahong to jump, assuring him that the journey will be easy for him, but Jahong hesitates, so Haewonmek pushes him, and the guardians follow. Back in the world of the living, Dongyun tries to hang himself, so Suhong begs Gangrim to save him. However, Gangrim must not interfere in the world of the living. Suhong promises that he will go with him if he saves Dongyun, so Gangrim cuts the rope. Back at the well, the trio floats effortlessly, but suddenly falls due to Gangrim's actions. Haewonmek and Jahong end up on a floating rock but continue to fall when it loses its balance. In the world of the living, Suhong begs Gangrim to convey his last message to Dongyun. As the trio continues to fall into the well, Jahong grabs Deoksun to protect her from the fall. However, they begin to float again after Gangrim finishes conveying Suhong's message to Dongyun. When they arrive at the Hell of Violence, the prosecutors narrate how Jahong viciously beat his brother when they were in high school. They say that Jahong did this while Suhong was suffering from malnutrition. The god of violence condemns him after learning that Suhong never forgave him for the assault. When Haewonmek contacts Gangrim, he instructs Deoksun to request a combined trial. When Deoksun makes the request, the prosecutors ask if she knows the consequences. If Jahong is found guilty, his punishment will be doubled, and his guardians will lose their privileges. The god of violence grants the request when the prosecutors accept the deal. Suhong becomes a normal ghost after Gangrim takes him to his grave. On his way to the barracks, Suhong reveals that Jahong beat him because he prevented Jahong from suffocating their mother. Jahong admits that he wanted to kill the whole family, including himself, that night. When he failed, he decided to leave his home. At the army base, Suhong sees his mother arrive to look for him. Park pushes her away for fear of being caught covering up Suhong's death. In the afterlife, ghouls appear to attack the trio, but Haewonmek defeats them effortlessly. Meanwhile, Suhong's mother insists on finding her son, so Park pushes her. Suhong is enraged to see his mother faint. He transforms again into a vengeful spirit and conjures a tornado to attack everyone in the barracks. Suhong's wrath is terrifying, and Gangrim has to use his powers there to save innocent lives. Park tries to escape, but his truck is sucked into the tornado. Seeing that he would have a hard time alone, Gangrim calls Haewonmek to help him save Park, and fortunately, he quickly arrives for the mission. While dealing with Suhong, Jahong sinks into quicksand. Suhong stops his attack upon seeing Jahong sinking. Seizing the chance, Gangrim immobilizes the vengeful being. Soon, Yomra arrives and immediately declares Jahong guilty for attempting to kill his mother. Deoksun argues that there was no victim because his mother was unconscious. However, Yomra mentions the mirror of karma to reveal that she knew about the attempt on her life. She did not resist, believing that only her death would allow her children to live comfortably. Jahong acknowledges that he deserves punishment but pleads with Yomra to let him see his mother so he can apologize. However, Yomra points out that he had plenty of time to do that when he was alive. As the prosecutors read the verdict, they hear Suhong talking to his mother in her dream. Suhong asks her not to visit him at the base because he was assigned to become a judge in heaven. When he asks if she knew about Jahong's attempt to kill her, she explains using her voice that her children did nothing wrong because she was a terrible mother. She embraces him with tears in her eyes and says she is very sorry. Yomra reverses the verdict based on the fact that Jahong's mother forgave him. As he begins to reincarnate, Jahong thanks Deoksun for defending him. Back at the barracks, Haewonmek discovers that Suhong is another paragon. As he begins to complain, Gangrim realizes that Haewonmek was not the one who attacked when he refused to incinerate Suhong's body. It was Yomra in disguise. Days later, Gangrim delivers the rice cooker and letter to Jahong's mother. In the letter, Jahong confesses that he lied about having a family. He promises to return home before it's too late. Gangrim wonders why he was not punished for interfering with the living, then takes Suhong and the Guardians to the Hell of Filial Impiety to confront Yomra. Before attacking the king's army, Gangrim reminds Deoksun that Suhong is the last soul they need to defend so they can be reincarnated, then they proceed to the beginning of the last journey in the afterlife.